Good evening, my friends. My name is Father Palaka, missionary priest in Church of the Ascension in Lower Broughton. As I promised to introduce our guest, so meet someone very, very special from Lower Broughton, Daniel Gauld. He is the head teacher of Riverview Primary School in Lower Broughton, and he is the founding head teacher who was here throughout the process when they lay the first brick of the church. So he knows the school inside out. So Daniel Gauld, welcome to the program, Someone Special.
Thank you.
It's lovely to see you, and we know each other since last year when I took this post, and I'm very, very thankful to you for offering us the place in school, because my passion was to pitch the tent among the community. And when you showed me around, and you exactly took me where I had the vision, and you opened me the hall where we got the map of the Lower Broughton. We could clearly see the Church of the Ascension, and that's where we put our altar. So you helped me to pitch the tent among the community, and for that I'm grateful to you and your team for your great support. And everybody really enjoyed, and they are very thankful for your generosity of your offer, so we can use this place as a worship.
No problem. No problem.
So Daniel, tell us something about yourself, where you were born and brought up.
Okay, I was born in Wales. My father was a soldier, so I travelled around a little bit for those first few years, partly in England, partly abroad, and then settled in the northwest, in Preston, and then eventually in Bolton. That's my Bolton accent that you can hear. And I went to school in Bolton, and then when I left school, immediately I took work as a bricklayer on building sites in the northwest, and spent probably about 10 to 15 years working on building sites as a bricklayer. I really enjoyed my time, but I began to realise that I perhaps didn't want to be laying bricks when I was in my 50s, as I am now. So as I got towards the end of my 20s, I went to university. I went to night school first, went to university, and did a teaching degree, and then began to work in a school in the northwest, in Sale, near Trafford. And then I got my first headship in Salford, at a local primary school, which is sadly gone now, but Charlestown Primary School. And that's how I became to be a teacher.
Oh, excellent, excellent. And when did you start your career in Riverview Primary School? I think it was built in 2010, I think.
Yeah, well, the school, the foundation was laid in just kind of right at the beginning of 2010. I took up my post in September 2010, whilst the school was well underway. And my job there was to kind of supervise the fitting out of the school, but also to supervise the drawing together of the two closing schools, which was Charlestown Primary School and North Grecian Street Primary School, and to look at how we could merge those communities together into a brand new school, a brand new building, and that was Riverview Primary School. We did quite a bit of work with the children of the two closing schools to decide the name, and we took the name from the nearby river. And on day one, I can honestly say that those children merged together and became Riverview children straight away. The parents and the staff were a little behind them, but very quickly we became the new school, Riverview Primary School, and a new vision for what we wanted to do in the local area.
Excellent. So your skills as a builder were right. they acknowledge your skills, and that's why they put you in school to
Possibly, yes.
yes.
I didn't lay any of the bricks though in the build of the school, which is perhaps sad. I may have liked to have laid a couple of bricks.
Oh, right, okay. But you still got chance to do some in Church of the Ascension when the church is under construction. So we'll give you that opportunity.
Brilliant. That would be great.
Yes. Daniel, just tell us something about the school community and about the Lower Broughton, because Lower Broughton is a mixture of different nationalities and different people. What sort of community you got in schools?
Okay, well, I'm perhaps going to go back a little bit further. When we first opened, we did quite an interesting project where we looked at the lost streets of Salford, and we introduced the children to the fact that in our local area used to be many, many rows of terrace streets and a real kind of working population that lived in the local area. And sad to say, the Lower Broughton area has been through quite a few regenerations over the years. So those terrace streets had gone, and there were estates built. Those estates eventually were demolished, and there were some high-rise buildings produced, and there were some quite new houses that again had to be removed and then rebuilt. So the area has gone through quite a lot of regeneration, and I would describe, for some of those people who have lived through those many, many years, have had quite a kind of difficult journey to where we are now. Where we are now, we've got a fantastic community. When this project was envisioned about maybe 12 or 15 years ago, I met one of the councillors, and the councillor said, we want the school to be the glue that brings the community together. We want it. The community has never really had that central focal point that the school, and of course the school and the church combined, can provide. So our current intake, it's marvelous. We are a multicultural, multinational school. We've got about half our children are local, born and bred Salford children, predominantly white British children, and then the other half of our school are from every corner of the world. We've probably got about 42, 43 different countries represented. Wow. And that is so wonderful. It means that our children have an expectation that their friends will be from all over the world. And it really is lovely. We don't have any problems with racism. Because our children are just used to that multicultural and multinational environment. So that's a real blessing for us. Our parents have to cope with quite a few different problems in the area. We have some deprivation in the area, and we haven't always had the best resources. We've not got a supermarket right on our doorstep. We don't have a bank right on our doorstep. We don't have a library right on our doorstep. And so some of those bring with it some difficulties for our community. But one thing you can be sure of the Lower Broughton community, that they will come together and support each other during a crisis. We saw that in the 2015 floods, where within a few hours, the generosity of the local community was amazing. It was so wonderful to see how they gave freely, how they opened their doors to support their neighbours, and that is, I would say, is the main characteristic of the Lower Broughton community. That kind of sense of we will look after each other, we will support each other.
Excellent. And it's the Riverview which is bringing us together as a church and a school. Because a river is the bridge between school and the church, is the bridge which could help and develop the relationship, I think. How are your relationship with the school and the Church of the Ascension?
Okay, well, when we first opened, I was introduced to Canon Wyatt, and straight away he made it clear that we were welcome in the church, and that he wanted us to see the church as a community resource and as part of our natural go-to place if we needed any help or support. And straight away we took him up on his offer and said, right, well, we'd like to move in for Easter and Christmas. You know, we have a large cohort. We've got about 500 children. And if you can imagine trying to fit 500 children and their parents into our smallish hall, it's not possible. So when we want to have that community event where we really do want all our families to be together, straight away we were invited into the church. We've had many years of those services that have become part of our Riverview tradition. I can think of many a cold December morning where we've carried our benches across, we've carried our mats across, and we've moved away your pews, and we've created a space for us to perform and for our families to be together. And it was just wonderful for me as a head teacher to look out and see so many of our families and children together. And I think it was wonderful for the Ascension Church to be full, absolutely full to bursting, no space at all. It was really lovely to get that sense of community. And then, you know, we would have that kind of blessing from the church. Really great. We are not a religious school. We don't have a denomination. We're not affiliated with any religion. We provide education to children with many different religions, but our children are passionate about that kind of connection with the church. They love that special event of walking across the church and feeling like it's a special occasion. And it's been lovely.
Excellent. And I heard some story from the children when this church was set on fire, and their reaction was really very terrible. I think they were so worried, and when they saw the fire. So what was the reaction of the children at that time when my church was set on fire?
Just devastation. You know, how could somebody do that? What a waste. What, you know, how upsetting that. You know, who on earth would want to do that harm to that beautiful building? And then that kind of sense of loss. The next week, the children were saying, well, where are we going to go for Christmas? Where are we going to go for Easter? So they saw, you know, the value of that kind of special place. And for them, you know, it may have had a religious connection, it may not, but for them, it was that kind of special place that was now devastated and ruined. And there was a genuine worry that we were going to lose the church, that it was going to be uneconomical to repair, and that we would have to kind of, you know, come up with a different plan that didn't involve that beautiful building and that connection with that local part of our school community.
Excellent. So are they happy, you know, when they are seeing the church is rising from the ashes? And, so outside is all finished. So any remarks now when they see the church building?
Well, I'd love to say yes, but no. They will be guided by us. We've kept quiet. We've allowed the church to have that dignified restoration. I'm excited to have a look inside when the inside's finished. I hope that you'll invite me to have a sneak preview. But once we say to the children, we are going back to the church, that's the point that they will shift their gaze left. They'll see the church and they'll begin to realize and remember that connection. And for some of the children who've never been in the church, there'll be that sense of excitement, and it will all come flooding back. You know what children are like. They will be guided by us, and when they see us as adults being excited, they would join in with that enthusiasm. I'm sure. I'm confident.
Yes. No. The same offer is there, and this is your church. This is a community church, and we will be welcoming all the communities in our church, and especially the school community and the children. They are our children, and we will look after them. And it is not going to be cold. That's a promise, I think, with the new heating system.
Good.
with the new heating system, and there will be plenty of space, I think. So we are thinking about putting the movable benches, and it's a modern inside church, traditional but modern, the usable, use all purpose. So it will be plenty of space inside, and the kitchen and everything will be there, and hopefully children will enjoy it and love it. And it's not that far now, so it's only a few more months to go, and then we will be doing the opening before Christmas. Certainly, this Christmas, this year, we will be celebrating in the church. So, how can we serve the local community as in a school and in a church? What are the needs in that community at present?
Okay, well, when this is the kind of question that we asked before we opened the school. How could we be that glue that brings the community together? And I think our local community want to feel like that they can organize something, can bring something together, and that if they need help from us as either a church or a school, that they will get that help. So when we first set the school up, we decided to have some key, we call them key functions. And one of our key functions is engaging the whole community. So that just helps us when a community group says to us, can we come and use the building? Can you support us? Sometimes we can. Sometimes, the answer is that we passport them onto another agency. But we've always tried to welcome people into the building. Like yourselves, you came along and said, could we possibly use the school building? Absolutely. And that's not an issue at all. And I think it's the same for us, really. It's whatever the community needs in the future. I would want us to be able to work in partnership, to be able to pick the phone up and ring each other up and say, we've got a community event. They want to use the park. They need to use some facilities. What can we do to support the community? And I think for us, I spoke to one of the community workers before the school opened, and it was really interesting. And I said, what does this local community want? And he said, we don't want organized events. We don't always want people to do things for us. We just want to come together in a traditional way. For example, like a pie supper. To come together and have that kind of community celebration and just spend some time together. And I think that's our role. We've both got wonderful buildings. If we can facilitate that, that's great. There was a local event after the flood where they used the local park, and we were able to provide some support there. It was a community event. I think it's just us being aware, listening, and letting the community know that if they need something, knock on our door. If I can't help them, I'll send them next door to you. If you can't help them, we'll come up with a plan. And that we are a community resource, we're a community asset, and we need to be working together to serve the community so that they feel that we are their go-to people when they need to organize anything. We've had weddings, we've had great big celebrations here, we've had you're not the first church that's met at our school. We've had different churches. And that's what I think we need to do moving forward, to look after the community, to be there for them and to support them in whatever their ventures are.
Excellent. Now, my assurance as Vicar of Church of the Ascension is there because we need to bring community together and serve them, and that's what we are there. And we are going to have our Feast of the Ascension very soon. On 12th of May, we will be organizing something in the park, weather permitted. And if the weather is absolutely marvelous in park, we will celebrate in the park. Otherwise, we will be definitely having this feast in the school. So, Daniel, So that's our plan B. So we are all, but we want to bring the community together with the SOP rules and everything, keeping all this in mind.
Of course, yeah.
Daniel, thank you very much for joining us. So is there any message you would like to convey to the people of the church and people of the community in Lower Broughton?
Yeah, all I would say is I'm not from the Lower Broughton area. I still live in Bolton, where I grew up. But I do understand that, you know, when I took this job on as a head teacher, I also took on the responsibility of being a community leader.
Mhm.
And I would say, I take those responsibilities seriously. And if people, you know, need any support, any help, you know, I'm more than happy to do whatever we can to solve problems, to point people in the right direction. My core responsibility is to provide education, but I think with that comes a wider responsibility to support the local community and to help the community grow and be strong and feel a sense of purpose and of worth. And if I can help with that in any way, I'm more than happy to.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you very much. Our next guest will be very soon Father Peter Bolton. He was a rector of Church of the Ascension many years ago, and he's still in service somewhere in London. So he will be delighted to share his experience as a parish priest of Lower Broughton. So very soon I will be bringing him on this program. So until that, I would like to say thank you very much. Have a great evening and keep saving yourself and save others. Goodbye. See you soon.